How many shows have we done here on For Cannon's sake of how dog shit higher education is, huh? We've done a lot of them, I believe. But we have yet another example, not necessarily just higher education, but which most of it's dog shit, by the way. Not all of it, but most of it. And I got the statistics to prove it. Go look at the last segment, list of the last segment. But teachers unions, that's more so what I wanted to talk about. Not necessarily the higher education. A lot of that pertains to K through 12. Teachers union is rotten. You can watch our show that we did with Corey DeAngelis. Very informational show. Probably get them back on soon enough. But we talk about the rotten teachers unions. And if COVID-19 exposed anything else over this past year, is how rotten them damn teachers unions are. Have a new thing that happened. How emails prove, or rather they show that teachers unions influenced the CDC on school reopenings, which a lot of people had obviously took issue with. No matter where you were at on the issue of COVID, the idea of schools being shut down just completely and these hack teachers refusing to go to work and all of that. Now, I would argue that was our opportunity to get them out of a job and abolish basically everything about their institutions. But what you now are finding that a lot of those policies by way of the CDC may have been influenced by the teachers unions. The American Federation of Teachers lobbied the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, and Prevention, and even suggested language for the federal agency's school reopening guidance. So a lot of the reopening of the guidance wasn't about science. It was coming from the teachers unions. The powerful teachers union, full court press preceded the federal agency putting the brakes on a full reopening of in-person classrooms. Emails between top CDC, AFT, and White House officials show the emails were obtained through a Freedom Information Act request by the watchdog group Americans for Public Trust and provided to the Post. The documents show a flurry of activity between CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky, her top advisors, and union officials, with Biden brass being looped in at the White House in days before the highly anticipated February 12th announcement of school reopening guidelines. So thank you again for Friday's rich discussion about forthcoming CDC guidance and your openness to the suggestions made by our president and the AFT. This is that teachers union, I guess, wrote the AFT Senior Director for Health Issues, Kelly Trotner, in a February 1st email, which described the union as CDC's thought partner. Well, that's kind of fucking freaky. We were able to review a copy of the draft guidance document over the weekend and were able to provide some initial feedback to several staff this morning about possible ways to strengthen the document. Trotner continued, "We believe our experience on the ground can inform and enrich thinking around what is practicable and prudent in future guidance documents." Interesting. So we are immensely grateful for your genuine desire to earn our confidence and commitment to the partnership. So the CDC effectively partnered with this teachers union. And then they came out with the guy. That's kind of fucking crazy. So what it does is it says that, okay, the CDC isn't operating by way of strictly science, right? Now, I get some people will say, well, that's the like avenue that they're in. So you would expect them to listen to them. Not if it's about science, because the teachers aren't scientists. If it was supposedly about the science, why are they listening to the teachers union? It shouldn't even matter what they should be the ones setting the guidelines if they were just all ever knowing. So what it almost sounds is if that they were in on it. Now that doesn't mean that they were entirely influenced the entire documents in terms of the guidelines, but at minimum you'd have to concede with all these, if there was a legitimate partnership and they're using certainly the language coming from them, they at least influenced it came from that teachers union. And obviously the entire country is expected to operate based upon their guidelines. So the science isn't really science. It's influenced by way of these, in this case, corrupt teachers unions. Now, I don't know if that scares you. I mean, I would argue that, look, man, if nothing else this year should have shown you that this is a rotten institution. Education system in this country is rotten to the core. It is rotten from top to bottom. But as it pertains to these teachers unions, a lot of them are very politically active and politically powerful. And they lobby themselves and kind of use their own muscle to get political favor, That in itself is a problem, which is why I will continue to say, I will end on this note. I will continue to say this because people don't seem to hear me clearly when I do. These guys should be out of a job, a lot of them. But that doesn't happen until people realize and follow the money and start attacking the issues there. And instead of this whole concept of, I hate like reform, right? I hate these concepts because it assumes that there's something left to salvage, right? When for the most part it's rotten. You don't try to reform it, you cut it down and let something else grow. These people play with money that isn't theirs, taxpayer dollars, of course, that are generally funding almost all of them in their entirety, some way, shape, or form, be it in their salaries or whatever, or the schools themselves. They need to be eliminated. So the entire educational system is left up to markets, not teachers unions, and that's not even to say that there maybe won't be voluntary unions that are there. But when you have the political favor tied to it, obviously there's going to be the favors tied to it. It's going to be a little, hey, do something for us type of stuff. Them nudging elbows. But they're also not playing with their own money here, guys, which is why you had the weirdos like in Chicago, for example, that could just say, we're not going to back to school, right? We're just simply not going to do it. In any other instance, for the most part, if you did that, you would be out of a job. It's just less likely that happens to teachers because, well, they're funded by taxpayers. Or the school systems, they're funded by taxpayers. That's not their money that they're dealing with. They're not dependent on an actual market. They get it regardless. Why you think they're so anti the concept of school choice, which is, again, that only gets halfway to the problem, but to it nonetheless. This is why they are so against that, because then it effectively would turn into a market in the schools. The individual parents and their kids will be able to take their money to whatever school, so they be forced to compete with each other. There's a reason why they don't want to do that. That's all I'm saying.